Hey everybody, I'm starting a new video and I'm going to call this one Cottage Restoration Step 4, More Leveling. So I've got the beam in the middle of the house raised up high enough such that it's level with the other side of the house. So between the beam in the middle of the house and the side of the house, that's level. And here, I'm way off level. I don't know if you can see that. But I'm going to crawl under the house. There we go. And install that 4x6. Starting right here at the 5-foot mark. I think it's this board. Put that out of the way. So right about here. And you can see that the middle of the house is about 1 inch to 1.25 inches too low. I say the middle of this side of the house. And that's what I'm working on today. So let me get this beam in place. Five foot, 1.5. That'll work. So this is the mechanism that goes into the top of that cylinder, and you turn it, you simply turn it to get it to pump the house up, to lift the house. And it's machined well enough. It's within tolerance. But the bits of gossamer fine sand that come up as dust in this area don't help much. So this mechanism already has some oil on it, but I'm going to put some lithium grease on there to make this a little easier. There we go. Well, that stuff smells great. Yeah. Alright. I'm just going to put it on this plastic baggie. Keep the dust off of it. There we go. Alright, so I put the middle jack stand in place with just enough room for this 4x6. Let me see if I can balance that and then work on the other two. Nope, still needs some more. You can still see it's not holding up that last beam. That last floor joist. Damn, another edge. It's still not there. Huh. It's just catching. There's still like another 1/4 inch. So either these floor joists are not on 2-foot centers, or my beam is not 12 feet long. It's just a hair short. But that's okay because this part of the floor is actually doing pretty good, and I can brace it up separately with a little bit of extra effort. So what I'm going to do is slide it down a 1/2 inch past the end of the back floor joist and commence jacking up then. Well, that's not going to show up very well, but it's only off by about a 1/4 inch. I'm just going to shove it very gently and get it right on that line. There. Let's see if that works. All right. I'm going to draw this down just enough to close this gap at the top here, and that will enable me to work on the other two without fear of it falling out of place. I'm going to go a little bit, I'm going to go a 1/4 turn past tight. Now we'll go 1/2 turn. There we go. Cool. Alright, so most of the work is in the back of the house, toward the back of the house, so I'm going to work on that now. It looks like I need to come down about 6 inches to cover the top of this, and another 1.5 inches or so for the bolt that comes out of the top. Let me dig it out. Well, that's looking pretty good. All right, let me show you one of my concerns over here. So these floor joists are just resting on top of the header joist, and my fear is that because there is a crown in the floor joists from having sagged for 1/2 century and more, that it may try to lift up off of the header joist when I jack up the floor joists with this jack right in the middle. So I'm going to have to watch that very closely. Additionally, the floor joists are simply resting on top of this beam going through the middle of the house. So I have to watch that closely too to make sure it doesn't lift up off of there or twist. Whew. Let's start. Alright. So this one has finally sat down. And I imagine I'm deforming this 4x6 a little bit. But it'll be okay. At least I hope so. Alright, the floor joists are still on the header joist and on the beam. So no harm yet. Let's keep going. I'm gonna have to switch back and forth between these two and eventually go put a jack under the front one. Well, you can really hear it. Hear it creaking. So it looks like each complete turn is 1/8, and I have to go up 1.25 inches. So I guess that's 12 whole turns. Oh boy. I got to looking at this and realized I didn't much care for the way that it wasn't quite level or plumb. And you should be able to see there, the bubble is just a hair off. So I'm going to back this off, get this as plumb as I can, and then come back to it. Well, that was it. That bubble is dead on now. And you can't see it, but it's dead on this way now too. So I'm going to declare victory and be very excited by that. Okay, let me check the other one. That's pretty bad. Gosh darn it. That seemed level when I started. Or plumb. Well, it's not even close to plumb this way. I'm gonna get this one too. That is much better now. Alright, let me pick up where I left off. Alright, and I go back toward the back again. I'm just trying to level the house evenly as I go up. It's looking good. It's looking good, but I need a break. So I'm gonna have to come up another, looks like another 1/2 inch in the back before I go to the middle again. Whew. Well, I think I'm gonna take a little shortcut and use this bottle jack to lift up the new beam while I turn the crank on this floor leveling jack. So my bubble is much closer. In fact, boy, that looks like it is just, Looks like I need to go another 1/4 inch to ride on that bubble, and then I think I'll be very excited. Boy, it sounds like this old 2x6 floor joist is cracking. It does not sound at all happy, but it should bear the load, because right now it's only a 5-foot span between this beam and the header joist, this beam and the beam over there. So I've re-engineered it, so I have 2 5-foot spans instead of a single 10-foot span. So my bubble is really close, right over the jack, right over the floor jack. It's real close. And over here, it's dead on, which makes me wonder what's going on. I think the problem is just the floor joist has this crown in it upside down, and once it settles, it should be okay. We're gonna see. Well, I got pretty far. Let me go upstairs and check to see what it looks like now. What a huge difference. It went from 1 1/4 inches to about a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch at the lowest spot down at this end over here. And my beam is, wow, a lot of new movement under here. My beam is right under here, which is, oh, that feels like about 3/8. So I got a low spot here, and I imagine that's from the beam having a crown and sagging for 1/2 century. But I'm going to see if I can get at least the 3/8 out of there. Alright, if I remember correctly, 3/8 would be 3 full turns, but I think the sand is sinking underneath the jack, so I have to make sure I get this just right. There's still a lot of daylight there. I'm gonna go back and just keep trying, maybe get another 1/4 inch. But eventually I'm going to have to settle for what I get. And this is going to be hidden under cabinets anyway. But I just like things to be perfect. Alright, so I'm going to install the jack down at the end. It doesn't do much, but it'll stabilize the floor a lot. That's about it. That's all that one's going to do. Alright, back to the middle. Because this beam does nothing to hold up that floor joist there, it misses it by 1.5 inches. I'm distributing the 2 jacks in the front of the house underneath this 3rd floor joist. This 4th floor joist will have no jack under it, and then the 5th floor joist will have that middle jack under it. And I could just leave the pad there and put the jack under this point underneath the beam, but it would actually bend the beam up, and it would be some serious can't see it from my house work that I could just not live with. I know the next guy who comes down here will be screaming my name, and likely it'll be me. So I'm going to move the floor jack here, and it'll be right underneath this floor joist, bearing the load directly. That's it. I think that's all that jack is going to do. This part of the house is relatively level, so I don't want to fix what's not broken. Let's go back to the middle jack. Alright, I'm back in the middle jack, and I still want to get that last 1/4 inch. And I'll probably just have to be content with that. Alright, let's go look upstairs. Well, that is 90% better. There's still a 1/2 inch gap there to the right, and I imagine that I could have put the new beam underneath that area, but I didn't. I have a suspicion. I'm going to let this sit for 1/2 an hour and see what happens. Well, shucks. I thought maybe the crown in this 2x6 floor joist would relax and the floor would settle a little bit, but it did not. So what I'm going to do is get back under there, get that last 1/4 inch, and maybe an 1/8 inch more, because I think when I pull the bottle jacks out, the floor is going to settle back down a little bit on top of the floor leveling jacks. There we go. Sweet. I'm gonna leave everything just like this overnight and see what this 70-year-old wood does. So as you can see, the floor is settled a 1/4 inch, give or take. And that's because the sand underneath the floor jack and the bottle jack has settled. So that paver, I think, just sinks into the sand. I don't think that the floor joist is compressed a 1/4 inch. I'm pretty sure the sand settled underneath it a little bit. So I'm really, really glad that I waited to see what would happen. It's been 2 days since I did this, and I'm going to get under there and get another 1/4 inch. And then retrieve the bottle jack and start working on the other side of the house. So I was looking at these floor jacks, especially the floor leveling jack on the right, and I noticed that it's extended a lot. We've actually cranked out about 4 inches of it, and I got to worrying. I wasn't sure if there was any more of this screw in there. But it looks like there's still about 1.5 inches of this threaded part to go. So I was thinking about lifting it up a little bit more, but I'm just going to take that 1/4 inch from there. Alright, let's look upstairs. So I'm still seeing a little bit of light underneath this 1x4, but the part that's right above the new floor joist, the new beam, is touching the hardwood floor. So I think I'm going to declare victory on this. This part over here is just going to sag because the old floor joist is sagging and this part is load-bearing. But I think I'm going to declare this a victory. I might go give it another half turn and then pull out my bottle jack. There it goes. Alright, so I'm going to release the bottle jack now. Oh boy, this is going to be fun. Real easy. Oh, that's definitely sagging. Oh, you can see the floor jack sinking into the earth. Wow, it's still going. Wow. It's... Alright, it stopped. Wow. Alright, let me look at the floor upstairs. Sure enough, that bottle jack was doing most of the work. And I lost that 1/4 inch again. So what I'm going to do is the overjack it, I guess. And fix this. That 1/4 inch is pretty significant, so let me start over. Eventually, the sand underneath this floor leveling jack will stop compressing and will bear the load of the floor joist above it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep compressing it. As you can see, I've already pushed the darn thing down into the ground 4 inches. But eventually it'll give up and bear the load of that floor joist. So let me commence to that. I sure don't like the look of that. It seems like it's deforming this metal plate. That is just bad news. I may have to switch to some different solution. Well, I think I'm just going to declare victory there with that little bit of light shining through there. That's, oh. That looks like it's about a 1/4 inch of daylight, tapering off to about a 1/2 inch on the side there. And that's not so bad. I'm not one of those it's good enough guys, typically, but in this case, I think I'm going to let it go and just declare victory there. So here toward the back of the house, I'm still off by a little bit, and if I put the level this way, right there above the floor joist, above the new beam, I can tell I gotta come up in the back, about a 1/4 inch. Yeah. Not even that, just a hair. So that's what I'm gonna do. That is dead on. I'm going to leave it right there. Now I'm pretty sure that when I release the bottle jack, the floor leveling jack is going to sink into the sand a little. So I'm going to go another full turn. Huh. There it goes. All right. All right, let's see what happens when I release the jack. Damn. Wow. No, it stayed. Alright, I'm going to declare victory on this one too. That's 2 victories. I'm just going to leave that 1/4 inch. You know, that's just bugging the fool out of me. I'm going to see what I can do about that. I'm under the other side of the house now, and there you can see where the load-bearing wall is, because the electrical panel is in that load-bearing wall, and that goes right up to the floor into that wall. I'm about to be rid of this nasty old copper pipe, installed so poorly, just hanging there. But let me get to cutting that out. So upstairs I measured the lowest spot in the floor, and fortunately it's right in the middle at 5 feet. And I've put my mark with 1.5 inches extra for the width of my 4x6. And you can see where it's not parallel with the others. So I'm going to cantilever the new beam out a little bit to catch that next joist, but it's got to be right underneath this floor joist. That floor jack has to be right under here so that the direct load-bearing capacity is right underneath that load-bearing wall above. And that's where I'm going to jack this up. I got the second beam in place, just balanced here in the middle on this single floor jack. And I bought these short floor jacks for the other side over there. But here they seem to work perfectly. I don't have to dig out any of the dirt underneath. I actually have to crank out a 1/2 inch of that thread. So fortunately, the beam is long enough to catch the entire width of 7 whole floor joists, all the way to the end down there. So I get 7, and here you can see how this jack is a little bit too tall. I can't fit it on that paver and under here without digging out. And frankly, I'm tired today, so I'm going to knock off. Look at that. But that beam is in place, exactly where I want it. It's got a little twist in it, but I think that jacking it into place will straighten it out. And if not, then it's not going to be a big deal. That's it for today. I'm going to pick this up tomorrow. I gave up on trying to make these silly little jacks work and got myself a proper house jack. And it comes with this keen bit of hardware, so I'm going to position that in the right spot underneath this beam. So I got the jack in place, and I've got it leveled, and I have this massive wrench. Oh, I'm very pleased. Look at that monster. And I imagine it's going to take every bit of this wrench to jack up this part of the house. Let's give it a try. So it's starting to look pretty good, and this isn't sinking into the earth so much as the last one. You can see over there, that beam hasn't touched the next floor joist yet. So I'm going to go upstairs and look at what we've got. Now we've got another inch to go. It looks like it's come up about a 1/4 inch, but there's still another inch to go. So let me get back down there. It's getting real close. Up on that next beam. That floor joist is nearly touching the beam. Let's look upstairs real quick. Well, there's still a lot of light coming through under here, but there's a lot less. It used to be off by 1.25 inches, I think, and now I can't even flip this piece of 3/4 inch wood under there. So I've got another 1/2 inch to go, it looks like. And I'm going to do my best. This door seems to be closing a lot, or getting close to the point where it'll close. But it's still way off. But I think once I get the floor jacked into place, it'll be about right. You can see it's way off. Goodness. All right, back into the house. So I've extended at least 3 inches of this bolt out since I put it in place. And I can't remember how long it is, so I actually have to go grab another bolt and compare it to this to make sure I'm not going to run out of bolt. Because all the dirt in Florida is considered Class 3 soil, or full of organic material, it's very spongy. So as the floor goes up, the sand is compressed and the leveling jack goes down. So I'm having to deal with both of that. Both of those things are taking up a lot of this all thread. I'm gonna go grab another bolt to make sure I have some more. All right, I still have some more. And I only have to go another 1/4 inch and then I'll be done. Yeah, I think I'll be fine. I only have another 1/4 inch to go, so I think I'm going to give this 3 complete turns and declare victory. Well, I was afraid of this. Sure enough, there's a crown in the floor joist, and it's lifted this beam up off the pilings in the front and the back there. So I need to wait until the middle of the house settles down and the crown in this floor joist levels out a little. So that's it for today. I'm going to knock off. Well, sure enough, that 1/4 inch is still there, but these floor joists are lifted up a 1/4 inch off of the beam running through the middle of the house. So I'm going to put the level everywhere and test to make sure that my hypothesis is correct. So here, if the beam settles on the right, this is just a little off level. So I think in the middle of the house is too high. If I come out here to the edge of the house, this beam is still too low. So I think it's a straight line. I think that one side of the house is a ½ inch higher than the middle of the house, but then the other side of the house is level with the middle of the house. So because this side of the house has the kitchen and the bathroom, I'm going to leave this side of the house level, but then this side of the house I'm just going to leave off level by ½ inch and declare victory. Hopefully nobody will notice. Amazingly, this wall was not completely destroyed. There was some motion, a little bit of breakdown in the wall, but nothing too significant, nothing I can't fix relatively easily. Looks like about a ½ inch of shifting. My goodness, I didn't even notice downstairs that the wall had lifted up ½ inch. Ugh. Alright, so I still have a lot of work to do, but I'm going to let this sit overnight and come back to it. Yeah, the ceiling's up. Looks like a ½ inch. Boy, I think I came up a little too much. I may have to back off that jack a little bit. We'll see tomorrow. So I looked under the house, and the floor joists are still connected to the header joists. They're toe-nailed in, but this wall, as a monolithic piece, has maintained its shape. So as it rose up 1.25 inches in the middle, it deformed a little bit, but it maintained enough of its shape to lift up the ceiling and itself along the edge here, about 5/8, maybe even 3/4 of an inch, right in that gap up there. That means I just have to tear the drywall off of this wall and rebuild it, which is not at all the end of the world. Additionally, this door, which used to go right through here, used to close just fine, and even though it's level at the top, at the bottom, it is ½ inch too narrow, which means it's not closing anymore. That means that the bottom of it closed up as I leveled the house. This wall was absolutely installed while the house was unleveled, and when I leveled it, the wall was no good. So I need to do a lot of work on this wall. What I might do is just tear this door out and leave it out. It's a 1-bedroom house designed for someone to live here alone, and it may not even need a door there on the bedroom. We'll see. And while I'm talking about it, I still have this gap over here, and what I might do is take the floor jack that I put down there previously, that one I bought off the internet, and replace it with one of these far superior floor jacks. In fact, that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to crawl into the house and replace that middle floor jack under this new beam with one of these. I'm going to do that now. So this is going to be fun. I have to take out these 2 jacks and replace it with this one. So in order to do that, I have to pull both of these out, which isn't a big deal. The beam is held at both ends by other jacks. So I just need to pull it out, fill the hole in, stick this one in place, and jack the thing up. Well, heck. There's a giant root. I forgot about this giant root going right here where I need to put this floor jack. So I have to cut this root out first. Thanks. Thanks, giant root. Ugh. Class 3 soil. Alright, before we go too far, let's look upstairs. Alright, I got every bit of, looks like 5/8 or maybe 3/4 inches to go. So I'm going to compress a lot of sand, but I'm going to lift the floor a little bit. We'll see how this works. Looks like another, about 1/4 inch. Give or take. No, more than that. That's 3/8. Maybe even a half. Alright, let's give it a few more turns and then have a look at it again. There's still a lot of light coming from under there. But it doesn't look like much. It looks like about 1/8 of an inch. Alright, let's give it 1.5 full turns and see where we're at. So I actually backed it off 1 whole turn. I'll tell you why. It began to lift the center beam off of the pier in the middle here, and you can see some light through there. It began lifting it up. So because this floor joist is so deformed with a crown in it, when it begins to sit down again and the one on the other side begins to sit down, it'll land on this pier and rest and be level across. At least that's my hope. I'm going to declare victory where it's at and be very content. Alright, moving on. I'm back on the other side of the house now, and that jack in the front is doing okay, and this one in the middle is fine. It's not doing very much. And the one in the back is going to do even less. It's going to take the jiggle out of the floor because it's very soft. These old 2x6s, they're very spongy, and when you jump up and down, there's a lot of bounce, like a trampoline. So I'm just going to expand the jack until the beam touches the floor joist, and then go maybe 1 turn past that, just to take the bounce out of the floor. Well, that's it for the leveling video. There was a lot more work than I thought. This ended up being a much bigger sub-project than I expected it to be. I still have to go back behind myself and deal with this 3/4 inch gap in the ceiling there, because this wall, as a single monolith, lifted itself up as the floor underneath was lifting. This door is not a rectangle anymore, so I might just take that door out, take the trim out, and wrap the portal there, the opening, with drywall, and just run trim around it so it looks like this was always just open. It's a 1-bedroom cottage. It probably doesn't need a door, and if it does, then I'll just hang one of those Keen barn doors there. And I'm looking here at all these esoteric tools that I had to pull out from under there as I was extracting myself from the crawl space. Had to use all of these and ended up with 4 extra floor jacks, but that's okay because I have another project, another cottage that I have to level after this one, and I probably won't bore you with that. Just remember, this video is for entertainment purposes only. Don't try any of this at home. I learned a lot during this video, and I hope you did too. Thanks so much for watching.